It has been a very long time. I have not uploaded a system test since August, and it is January now, so I apologize so much for that, everybody, but the time is now for System Test 8. And I'm disappointing you a little bit, but I do have quite a few new things. The first thing is this Commander 4. I now have a GCC 24CR. You're like, dude, why can you not get anything other than Commander 4s? Well, the reason I don't, or Commander 3s and 4s, Gentex devices, well, that's because I want to keep them synchronized, and I got information about a surprise that might come up in the next year and a half or so. So I'm going to stick to Gentex for now, so you're really surprised. Later. That's a big hint, though. Anyway, I've also got the Mircom MS404U emergency pull station up, but you'll notice the wiring on it is kind of strange. It's got 3 wires. That is, I'm kind of converted this system to an addressable kind of system. So, and there's a potentiometer on there. There's a reason for that too. But I did this for system trouble function. You're like, dude, you completely overdid it. But I kind of made this an addressable system. There's power. There's it is conventional, but it's conventionally addressable, if that makes any sense. It requires the module on the back of the device to be able to communicate with the panel. Because there's 3 wires, there's now data, and then there's power and ground. Power, ground, data. And they go into the potentiometer, and it reads everything on this pulse station. So, there's a reason I did that. Now, in the panel, a couple of things have changed. You'll notice I'm using less digital pins. That's because it's using an analog pin for data. And it's got power and ground, but the LCD now says Will's Room, and then it says normal under it, instead of normal state. And you'll notice it's not on the board. The board is actually over there, and that's a part of the expansion that I'm planning to do at some point. Hint, hint. Some point in the next year and a half or so. Hint, hint. So it's going to be a very long time before we use that board again. But I am planning to do something with it. You'll see what that is. Anyway, I got rid of that little GPEX jingle kind of thing, and I got this just standard little piezo. It's really boring, I know, but it's what I felt like doing. I just kind of didn't like the what it was doing before. I'm like, you know what? Got to make this a little bit more traditional. I like the creativeness of the other piezo, but I also had to make room for some other adjustments. You'll also notice there are 0 resistors over here and 0 jumpers to pull. So you may be asking, what is the coding option? Well, the real question asked is, what is it set to? Because there are 3 coding options. There's continuous, there's code 3, and there is sync mode, which is Gentex sync right now, but I'm going to add, I'm going to take Gentex sync away at some point and add system sensor and WeLock, and then have another coding option that you will see later. It's going to be very interesting to see how that coding option works out, but I'm planning to add it back at some point. I actually will probably replace code 3 with it, since sync mode usually does code 3, so yeah. But you'll see how that works in a moment. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test out a feature that has to do with the 3 wire zones. So, are you ready for this? Watch what happens if I remove this red wire here. Oh dear. There we go. System trouble. The zones are now supervised. Acknowledge! Oh yeah, I forgot about that little panel bug. I have to fix the trouble before I can acknowledge it now. Anyway, it's weird. But, whatever. Anyway, I will reset that now. Will's Room. System normal. Well, it doesn't say system. And but now this zone is supervised, so that's quite nice actually. I think that's rather interesting. But this I'm gonna simplify onto a board like where is it? This. There it is. I'm gonna put it on a proto board and I'm gonna snap it on the back of a pull station like this, and I will. Yeah, I don't know. I'll figure it out at some point, but I'm going to make this a semi-addressable system using potentiometer, Le Original. Anyway, now there's some. So I've changed up a few things. This is no longer NAC disable. Also, I added back NAC 2, so I have 2 NACs now, and I've got well, the 3-wire zone. So yeah, that'll be interesting. And I added back the 2 NACs so I could do 4-wire silence and stuff like that. So, but it's been a long time. There's not too many changes, but there's a really cool change that you're going to see in a minute that I finally discovered how to use the EEPROM for. Hint, hint. Anyway, here we go. 3, 2, 1. They are synchronized in Gentex Sync. Tape is over the horns. These two sound terrible together. If they're like not a room apart, it sounds like crap. Like crap, re-crapped. It's recycled crap. Alright. We'll reset the pulse station here. And we'll reset the system. Alright, Will's room. Normal. Now there's that feature that I was talking about that replaced the down button, the NAC disable feature. There's a coming soon feature here. That's acknowledged. But what if we press the down button? Signal code! I have an option for it now. And I'm just going to start with up, which is code 3. Code 3 set. Now, let's go over here and we'll pull the pull station. It's panel coded, 4-wire. Silence that. It is 4-wire. And the syncing is slow. This is the first time I've had 4-wire set up with multiple devices and multiple horns even. Alright, now let's reset that. And I know it said silenced RM because I forgot to add the LCD clear function in there. Now let's go back to that menu and we will press the right button, continue as set. We'll reset that, and then we will go over here, pull the fire alarm. Alright, it is still 4-wire. Surprise, surprise. Alright, we'll reset the pull station again. Alright, and we'll reset the system. I'm going to set it back to sync mode. So, there we go. Sync mode is set. I will add more coding options later. Maybe, well, I won't tell you. You'll just have to see. Anyway, also with the drill function, you now have to press and hold for 3 seconds. And it's automatically in sync mode. You don't get an option with the drill function right now, but I will add that in later because I forgot to add it in the code. It's been that way since I had the signal coding options. But yeah. So now what happens when I this is how this works. So since New Age Server Alarm doesn't explain how he does things in programming wise. There's something called an EEPROM, EEPROM. It's basically non-volatile memory, so it'll remember something that you write to it, even if you turn the power off. So if I were to power down the panel, it would still know that I just set it for sync mode, so that if I were to power back on the panel, and it would do the same thing if I set it to code 3 or continuous. So, yeah. But non-volatile memory, meaning that it stores it even if the power is turned off or disconnected. So, that's pretty cool. But what it does is, since I can't save like a chunk of code to the Arduino's EEPROM, or really any EEPROM for that matter, what I can do is I can write a value to the EEPROM, and in the code that I put in for the pull station or the drill function, what I can do is I can write an if statement for that value. So if EEPROM.read, this is in C programming, so if I read out of the EEPROM's first byte and I get a value of 1, then do execute this. So what it does whenever I change the signal coding and I changed it to sync mode, say that writes a 3 to it, and after a few seconds it'll go back to the other menu like that. But I write it to sync mode, and say I wrote the value 3 to byte number 1 of the EEPROM for that. Then what I would do is I would go into the programming section for the if statement for the pull station and say if the reading from byte 1 of the EEPROM is equal to 1, then execute this code. Do Gentex sync, or do continuous, or do system sensor sync, wheelock sync, whatever coding option you program in there. Basically everything else is just really simple other than that. So yeah, that's kind of how I did it. And I encourage you to go and do it too if you can figure out how to use an Arduino and all that. Also, I keep forgetting to explain that I am not using the Arduino's power supply. I'm not using the same power. Excuse me, I'm not getting power from the Arduino to power the alarms. That would not be sufficient to power any of these alarms because they eat up milliamps like no one's business. I mean, both of those strobes right there are 120 milliamps, 15 candela, and that one set to 60 candela, and it's eating up about 80, 90 milliamps. But so I have 2 plugs for this panel. First plug is this Samsung adapter. It's 2 amps, 5 volts, and this is 24 volt, 1 amp. So this is the power supply for the notification appliances, both the strobes and the horns, and that's why I use the relays. That's why I have the relays in there, and I'm also going to add in some other cool things later, like programmable relays. Maybe that's what's going to replace this coming soon screen, or switch to acknowledge as well. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. You'll just have to see later. But for right now, that's all I've got in the system. So thank you guys a bunch for watching, and I hope it was worth the wait to see the neat little discovery I made. And I hope you're not too disappointed by not having anything spectacular, but this is what I've got for right now, and I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more with this more recently, now that I have a little bit more time to do it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. I would appreciate it as well if you would rate, like, comment, subscribe, stuff like that, the typical YouTube stuff. And I will see you guys in System Test 9, which should be coming out maybe tomorrow. I don't know. You'll see.